Hi, my dear Astro family. Literally, I received at least 100 emails to check King Charles' medical conditions and my opinion about what's going to happen to him. So I decided to put together a short presentation about this. It's more of an educational video rather than trying to mock someone around or talk about someone who is actually ill. So that's not my intention. But because I thought that you guys are interested in this, so I wanted to cover this topic for you. Now, I'm gonna try to put together, at least 4 or 5 timing techniques because my opinion is that one indication is not an indication. So, and I think that's the best piece of advice I can give you when it comes to timing techniques. You wanna go through at least 4 or 5 of them, and then if you see 3 indications of the same story, then most likely you can have a better chance to actually experience that. For example, you are looking for a husband. If you see Jupiter going through your 7th house, you should not necessarily expect that it's going to be happening. But maybe by solar arc or progression, the 7th house ruler gets activated, for example, or a progressed new moon is happening somewhere and so forth. So this could be um, a sign that yes, you're gonna get married, you're gonna break up, or you're gonna find the love of your life and all those type of things. So this video is intending to give you a bit of a help to tie together the timing techniques. Now, if you would like to study with me, then actually I am going to be having a solar return workshop coming up very soon in a few weeks' time. Already plenty of people signed up for it. Probably one of the reasons is because I promised to give a step-by-step guide how to break down your own solar return chart so you can make better predictions. And I will do so. I will honor my promise. So it's going to be approximately about a 4-hour workshop, and I will walk you through your solar return chart so that you can be very good at it. However, you need a little bit of a background astrology. You might want to know what the planets, houses, signs, and the aspect mean. You should be able to read a natal chart on a quite efficient level. But let's get going with King's Charles chart. So I'm going to pull that up for you. And first of all, I use tropical astrology. Some of you keep asking me about that. So his chart is in a tropical format. And I use whole sign house system if someone is curious about that. The very first thing that struck me or caught my eyes is that Pluto has been going through his 6th house back and forth. So Pluto recently went into the sign of Aquarius. Previously, it was in the 6th house, which is the house of health. Pluto, the very first time it made the entrance into the sign of Aquarius was 2023 March. And then you can see that straight away it started squaring his moon. Now, the moon is associated with the body. Especially it's associated with the body if we are talking about a night chart. So the night chart is when the sun is underneath the horizon. And you can see that his sun is placed in the 4th house. So he was born basically quite close to midnight energies. That's what it means. So Pluto squaring his moon is an indication that he needs to change his lifestyle. He needs to be taking care of his emotional well-being, physical well-being. And Pluto doing that from the 6th house is also an indication that something needs to be changing in his life. Obviously, Capricorn may be talking about the workload, that he needs to cut back a slightly bit on that. And he shouldn't be kind of overstretching himself because this could be an indication that his body is gonna burn out. So that's one thing we can see here. The other thing is we looked at the transit. Now, the other thing I would like to point out that if someone would be having certain type of illnesses, I definitely would be looking at where the ruler of the 6th house is. And you can see that it's in the sign of Virgo in the 2nd house. Now, 2nd house is connected to food intake. And Virgo is connected to his bowels. Now, that's exactly where his issues are. So the ruling planet of the sixth house could be giving you indications of what body part to pay attention to. So the second house might be the representation of the throat, the vocal cords, for example, and then Virgo would be something to do with the bowel movements. Some people do associate Pluto with being the planet of bowels. It kind of makes sense, but I think it's also a Mercurian process as well, to be frank. Pluto would be considered as the planet of bowels just because it's it's the modern ruler of Scorpio, which is kind of indication of going to the toilet. But apart from that, Pluto might be an indication of operation, it can be an indication of amputation, chemotherapies, and so forth. And I'm just wondering whether it's going to be happening to him because Pluto has been squaring his moon. Now, moon was already squared by Pluto, as I said, twice, and it's going to be happening 2 more times. How do I do that, or how do I know that? I can go on the forecast tab, timeline format, and then I'm going to be bringing up his transits, and I'm just going to be looking at the upcoming 1 year. Now you can see that Pluto started squaring the moon already in January, but it became exact on the 5th of February. It's going to be getting exact 2 more times, 11th of August and 9th of December. I find it very interesting that as soon as Pluto became exact with the moon in that square formation, the announcement was made. Also, it's very interesting that we have got an upcoming lunation as well. And this is going to be happening on the 24th or the 25th of February. That is going to be happening right on his Saturn. So the upcoming full moon is on 5 degrees of Virgo. Full moons are connected to highlighting an event. It's a release point as well as to do with a culmination of something. So his medical condition is going to be culminating here. Most likely we are going to be receiving further information about him around those days, maybe what's going to happen, how they are going to treat him, and so on. So this is one timing technique. Remember, one timing technique is not a technique. So probably I would be looking at what is happening in his solar arc. One thing I noticed here, so again, I'm just going to go back to his solar arc or the timeline format. I love this one. It makes my life hell lot easier. And one thing I noticed, I'm looking for only medical planets here or something connected to the sixth house. Why am I doing that? Because I'm only analyzing his medical conditions. And what you see here is that we have got solar arc Saturn, which is in conjunction to the sun. Now, why is this important for us? First of all, the sun is the ruler of the first house, which represents the body. Secondly, solar arc Saturn coming up to his sun, basically his body, sun, is getting weakened, Saturn, because of certain medical conditions. Saturn is the ruler of the sixth house. But I also pulled up his solar arc direction chart as well, and I wanted to see what is happening there. And then you can see that he has got a Libra rising sign, and all the eclipses are actually happening currently in his first and seventh house. And the first house is associated with the body. Secondly, I would like to point out that his rising sign is on 21 degree of Libra. So we had the previous, or we are going to be having the upcoming eclipse happening on 19 degree of Aries to 90 degree of Libra. So it's going to be unfortunately weakening his body because the South Node is going to be sitting around that point as well. So April, May could be a little bit of a problematic area for him. Maybe it's going to be the operation time. That's something possibly I can imagine. And of course, an operation is always weakening the body. The other thing that I would like to point out when I'm looking at his secondary progress chart, first of all, he has recently, actually it happened exactly on the 5th of February when he had a progress new moon happening in the sixth house. Now, I tend to be working a lot with progress degrees. So if you have got a progress new moon, whenever that gets activated in the next 28 years, that becomes a highlight for you. So it happened in his case in the sixth house, which is the house of health, on 8th degree of Aquarius. So the next time when it's going to get activated is actually in just a few days' time, when we're going to have the Mars and Venus conjunction. But most importantly, Pluto will be coming up to that degree as well in 2028. Now, the two factors that are the representation of the body getting triggered with the planet of death and rebirth. So Pluto can really weaken his vitality here around those times. It doesn't mean, though, that it's not going to happen earlier. I would like to point that out too, because I gave you already some clues with Saturn being on the Sun currently and so on. The other thing I could not miss here is that the progress rising sign is about to change sign, as well as the progress midheaven. Now, this might be an indication to me that his social status is going to be changing. So my gut feeling is that he might be handing the throne back to someone, or he's going to be just maybe doing reduced working hours and so forth. But the social status is somehow changing here. Important to mention that he has got the progress rising sign also in Virgo, which is the sign of health. And that's where his health planet is also sitting Saturn in the natal chart, as well as in his progress chart. The next thing I would like to mention, that Saturn has been opposing his medical planet for a while. So Saturn is still within orb. It kind of started already approximately in May 2023, and Saturn went retrograde, and then it again hit that point sometimes in December, early January. So it's been opposing his medical planet for a while. You can see that his progressed chart, the sixth house, is also ruled by Saturn as well. The other thing you might want to be checking is actually his solar return chart. So I have pulled up one of them, but actually I'm going to be pulling up two of them. So we've got the solar return chart for him that started in November 2023. Guess what? He also has got a Virgo rising sign here as well. So that's really, really important. That the health also pops up here as well. And remember, his health planet is placed in the sign of Virgo. The other thing that was really important, most likely, is that Saturn is opposing part of fortune here, which might be just showing that we are not the luckiest when it comes to our medical conditions currently, but also it's the first and the seventh house as well. So the relationship he might be having with others might be a bit of a focal point as well in his life. But that's not necessarily something I wanted to talk about this time around, though. One other thing that I would like to point out is that in the next solar return chart, 2024, from November till 2025 November, we've got Scorpio rising sign. But can you see that the sun is right on the rising sign? And the sun rules his body in the natal chart. So the body gets a double focus here. Sun is the ruler of the first house in the natal chart, and it is on the rising sign in his solar return chart as well. This is really, really significant. And on top of that, one other thing I would like to mention, that he's going to have a progressed moon, a solar return, moon return as well. Now that happens approximately every 19 years. So the very last time we had that was around 2005. We would need to be looking up what was going on in his life 2005-ish. Basically, the moon has got approximately about 19 position in the solar return chart. This is something I will be teaching you about in the upcoming course. And actually, I did make a 3-part webinar on solar return charts and in these type of chart shapes or these repetitions, because Mercury has got a 6-year cycle in the solar return chart. The moon has got a 19-year cycle. The sun makes certain type of patterns as well, and so on. So you might want to be checking that out as well if you want to learn a little bit more about solar return chart. So what I'm trying to show you here is that this year he has got a lot of Virgo and medical activations going on in his life. What do I feel? I don't want to make predictions here. Of course, the Saturn sitting on the sun, the Pluto squaring the moon, these are quite challenging aspects. There is definitely a need here to slow down and to change his life significantly. But with these eclipses in the solar return chart in the 6th and the 12th house, this might be telling me that he's gonna be spending some time in the hospital at least. So this is what I wanted to share very briefly with you for today in regards to his medical conditions. I'm just going to run through my notes because I made some notes and I want to make sure that I mentioned everything I wanted to do for you today. Yes, and it looks like I did. So I hope this video helps. If it does, please press like, and I'm looking forward to meeting you on my upcoming Solar Return web shop. I think it's going to be happening on the 2nd of March, if I'm not mistaken. Have a great time. See you soon. Bye-bye.